So joining us up now is Australian great, Queensland legend, Broncos player and the first Rams captain, Kerrod Walters. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure to be here, guys. How are we?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good for a Thursday. Just wanted to quickly have a chat to you about the Rams. You're obviously the captain. How was the Rams' first year? How was the vibe in the city and the crowd numbers?
Well, actually, the vibe was really good. Obviously, taking rugby league to a mad AFL state was obviously going to be a challenge. But obviously the people of Adelaide got behind the Rams after our second year, and my greatest memory is our first home game at the Adelaide Oval, as it was back then. We had 27,000 there. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere was great. We actually won. Did a big victory lap around the field to thank all the fans that turned up, and it was a really, really one of my fondest memories, actually. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So I think the biggest victory by the Rams is like 52-0 against Balmain. Were you playing that game?
I believe I was. Yeah. Was it 52-0?
52-0, yes.
Yes. That's right. I think I'm trying to think who played really well that day for us. They scored a fair few tries. Is there someone scored quite a few tries?
Yeah, I think it was the winger. I can't remember his name. Apto?
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah. Graham Addo.
Yeah, Addo. Yeah,
Graham Appo. Yeah. He was fullback winger. Yeah. I remember that. Actually, it was at the Adelaide Oval. No, it was at Hindmarsh Stadium.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What a win.
There you go.
Yeah. So obviously the Rams got cut after '98, after the Super League kind of war. And what was your reaction? And where were you? Do you remember where you were when they got the cut?
Yeah, I'd gone to England to play over there for sort of 1 or 2 years, and I had sort of plans to maybe possibly head back to coach at the Rams. That was my sort of last conversation with the board and with the CEO. So I was actually over in England, and I heard the news that they had been a victim of the Super League war, and they obviously had to cull 22 teams back to 16. So unfortunately, because the Adelaide Rams are owned by News Limited, it was an easy decision. You're out. See you later. So it was the same with the Hunter Mariners and I think the Western Reds too. So it was unfortunate because I really felt Adelaide was making some really good. The Rams were making some really good growth within Adelaide, and I think they could have been a force to be reckoned with in years to come.
Definitely. We definitely agree here. What's your thoughts on, obviously there's going to be an 18th team, possibly by 2032, 20 teams. Do you think Adelaide has a chance or should have a chance in being considered for a spot back in the NRL?
I couldn't agree more. I think if it's going to be called the National Rugby League, we've got to have teams right throughout Australia, not just just from on the eastern states. So I really think that Adelaide and obviously Perth should have a team as well. But obviously we're all concerned about Adelaide. So I think the support that the Adelaide people showed rugby league when we were there, we had an average team at that time. So, but I'm sure that like the Melbourne Storm they had an average team as well. So, and they grew. Obviously, they're one of the best teams in the competition the last 10 years. So, I think that the people of Adelaide love their sport as well. So, you talk about the Melburnians loving their sport, but Adelaide people really get behind their sporting teams and support them really well. So, that's why I reckon they should have stuck with it, and they would have had a team that they could all be proud of now.
100% agree with you. So we're talking about your favourite memory. Obviously, it was at Adelaide over the first game. What was it like going to train in Adelaide compared to like a Queensland where you play for the Broncos? Was it like, would anyone kind of rock up and do you have any fans that would go to the training sessions? Was the facilities, were they okay? Were they B grade? Like, what was that like?
No, the facilities were pretty good at that time. I remember it was always, I lived out at West Lakes, and it was always about 20 minutes from my place to training. So, but if you lived in sort of Brisbane or Sydney, the traffic can sometimes be a major drama. So, but I'd leave home every time of that day and get there in 20 minutes. So it was great. It was a really livable city. And in regards to training, there was a few people who would turn up here and there to watch us train and support us. But we sort of ran pretty low key in the first year. But in the second year, I think people started to sort of understand who the Rams were and that they were, a team to sort of proud of. And unfortunately, during our 2 years, the Adelaide Crows, I think they won the flag both those years, so we're sort of up against it. But but I think we sort of made some really good inroads into getting the people behind us.
Definitely. So I've just got a couple of fan questions from our Jumback Army Facebook page, if you wouldn't mind answering.
No problem.
Okay. The first one is from my wife, so this should be interesting. Do you think the mighty Penrith Panthers can get the three-peat?
Well, they're up. They're going to be up against it because it's the last team that won 3 in a row. I think was Parramatta. So, and the Broncos were the last team to win 2 in a row back in 92, 93. But then obviously the Roosters did it in I think 18 and 19. So, it's very hard to win premierships now in the NRL because the salary cap has really had a huge effect on teams being dominant over long periods of time. But I think it's a really even comp this year, and I think that the Broncos are right up there with a chance as well. Obviously, Penrith, South, Melbourne. There's probably 6 or 7 teams could actually win it this year. Which, if you said that last year, you think you're mad. So very even comp this year. But yeah, they're a chance. They certainly are a chance. They've got some quality players. So
yeah, it's definitely gonna be hard without Nathan Cleary for the next 6 weeks with his hamstring. So. They'll test.
Yeah, that'll test him. The halfback they bring in off the bench, I had quite a good game, so good test for him. So yeah.
This is my question that I had. So obviously I'm a massive Queensland fan because I'm a normal person, not like them New South Wales fans. Did you watch the game, obviously, and what did you think of the performance? And what did you think of the crowd from Adelaide?
I knew they'd get a good crowd there. It's a shame they didn't get a sellout, but. Was it still 43 or 44,000? And was it 50,000? 48,000 in a 52,000 seat stadium. Was it 52 or
52? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's still a good roll up for a Wednesday night. And I think by all reports the atmosphere was really good, and the players really enjoyed playing there. So just on that note too, I'm a big fan of us taking Origins to Adelaide, Perth, and Melbourne. I just think that. It means that there's one game in Sydney, one game in Brisbane, and so then the other is a neutral ground. I think it's a great chance to sort of take our product and show how good our game is to obviously Perth and Adelaide, and to show that and to get some more momentum into getting a rugby league team back in those 2 cities. So, what was the question again? I've sort of diverged a bit.
So how did you think that Queensland played on?
They played fantastic. Once again they had that never give up attitude, even when they were down to 12 men with the sin bin, and that's just the mentality of that's been inbred in Queensland over the last 30 years. That you turn up and you have a crack against all odds, and we've got a couple of class players that can those clutch moments can make things happen, like the Cameron Munsters and so forth. So New South Wales they've hit the panic button pretty quickly, but I think it was only 6 points in it, so they could quite easily reverse the tables at Suncorp in a couple of weeks' time. So, but I'm sure there'll be 52,000 Queens supporters trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Definitely. So it was funny. I was at the game on Wednesday, and when we lost, we got the old mate to the bin, and New South Wales in front.
Flegler.
Yeah. My wife said, "Never doubt a Queenslander." I was like, "It's all over. We've got no chance." She said, "Never doubt a Queenslander," and then we put on 2 tries with 12 men. That was amazing. That was so good. And
obviously, it was. I mean, probably the lucky thing for us was the fact it was Flegler as a middle player. So sometimes it's easier to defend when you lose a middle player than like an edge player, like a centre or a second row, because that's when the really clever players can exploit you in defence. But if you're in the middle, you can cover that. So, but once again, it was just a mighty effort. And New South Wales were obviously very disappointed with their loss, but 3-game series. But I'm pretty confident we can get the job done in Suncorp in a few weeks' time and take another series.
Definitely. So just on the sin bins, have you ever obviously been sin binned, and do you remember being sin binned and what you'd done?
Yeah, I mean, sin bin back then was you had to do something pretty bad to get sin bin. Now you just got it's unbelievable. I just can't believe how players get sin bin for such minor indiscretions. I know the game has certainly changed for the better, but the Thomas Flegler sin bin in the Origin, that was just ridiculous. It's a physical game. That wasn't I didn't think it was a shoulder charge or a dangerous tackle. So the game is such a fantastic product now, and it's very frustrating for someone like myself that had sort of played in a different era, and to see some of the sin binnings that's occurring and totally changing the game. I think that we need to understand how much sin bin affects the team, and does that illegality warrant costing a team a victory on most occasions. So that's something that they really need to look at. Is the sin binning and the hip drop. That hip drop tackle has got me baffled.
Yes, everyone.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it's come to the if you get an injury, they want to suspend someone or send them off. I mean, it's a physical game and it's a contact sport, and unfortunately, sometimes you get an injury just through bad luck and through misfortune. So you can't be penalising players every time somebody gets injured because it's just not the right way things should be done.
100%. I remember last year when we had the Magic round in Queensland on Brisbane, it seemed like every 5 minutes someone was going to the bin for something, like high tackle, and just kind of ruined the spectacle. Like you need 13 to have a great game. As soon as someone goes to the bin, it just gives them an unfair advantage. And like if you've got a decent team, you're going to put points on. So like.
It does, and also the suspensions for minor illegalities. I think they should just look at the fine situation. They should have a grading situation where if it's a grade 4, that's when you get suspended. But anything below that, it's just a fine because the people want to turn up each week and see the best players playing in their teams each week, and because the comp's so even now, if you lose one player, it could mean not another loss. So. I just think they really need to look hard at. No player goes out there in the modern game to do something illegality to hurt or harm a player. The game's too fast, and they just don't. That's not how the game's played anymore. So I just think they really need to look at those suspensions, and the game needs to have all their great players playing each week because there's a lot of injuries now as well, which we lose a few players for as well. So
yeah, I 100% agree with that. So just got one more question. You kind of half talked about it before. So obviously your brother is a coach for the Broncos, and you said you would get into coaching back then. Would you be interested in coaching these days, or are you over that? Is that like a...
Well, my time's passed. I mean, I did have a job in the Queensland Cup, but I ended up moving on from it. So the game's certainly changed, and you need to be involved in the game the last 10 years or 15 years to get any sort of credibility. It's because I retired back in 2000, which is 22 years ago. So, so it's just amazing how much quickly the game, and that is the outstanding thing with Wayne Bennett, to think he's still coaching at that level, and he's 73 years of age and still has the respect of his players and gets the best out of his players, and I don't think he's too old and he's got nothing to offer. So he's managed to adapt to the modern game, but having said that, the game is still the same. You run, you tackle, you pass. And I think that's how the game has changed. In one negative fact is the fact that they've tried to overcomplicate a simple game. I mean, the best teams run hard and they tackle hard. That's always been the case since 1908. So, it's just there's a few things here and there where the game's changed in regards to how it's played. But the best teams are the best defensive teams, the ones that run hard and tackle hard. That's what Penrith have done really well the last few years, and that's what Brisbane are doing well this year. Is that they're they've certainly got a lot of skill, but they're tackling, they're running hard and they're tackling hard. It's simple as that.
100%. Yeah, defence wins premierships.
It does. Yep.
Before you go, if the Rams did come back, would you support the Rams?
I certainly would. Yeah, I mean, I think I would certainly support the Rams, and I know that there's a lot of people throughout Australia that would support the Rams because I think the one team, one city works. I mean, you look at in the AFL side of things, the Brisbane Lions, one team, one city have got a lot of support in a rugby league mad city, and then obviously the Sydney Swans were the first. They had a lot of support since day one. There's obviously another team in Sydney now, but when the Swans were first in the competition for Sydney, they had got a lot of support. So the one team, one city works because of the sheer volume of people that live in the cities, and also that people want to get behind it, the local team and support them, and they've got a great facility there at Hindmarsh Stadium. It's really close to the city. It's a rugby league rectangular field, which is how you got to watch our game. And I just think that I'd certainly support it. I'm sure that a lot of other teams would as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Kerrod, for joining us today. Bring back the Rams, eh?
Bring back the Rams. Bah! Bah!
That was awesome. Thanks, Kerrod, so much for that.
My pleasure, guys.